And now for our sweet story of the day, night, whenever you're listening to this. Apparently, there were manga slash anime Jeopardy questions. That Hey, this is not a drill, people. All right, this is our time to shine, everyone.
I'll
Uh,
take pop culture for 400.
well, here's why it was interesting because it wasn't. It's one of those situations where, as manga anime fans, we're all sitting here like, well, we knew the answer to that, duh. But then every other category, I'm sure I would have failed miserably. And I mean miserably. So I don't think I would have done well. But like, here's what's so I'm gonna go through the questions here though as we're talking about them. But how do you feel about Jeopardy acknowledging your waifu, Tristan? How do you feel about?
Uh, no, I mean, I was happy to see, manga and anime questions up there. It's kind of nice just to be.
I mean, you know what it is too for anyone that's just like, oh no, normies and casuals. It's like, guys, we're putting aside everyone who's been fans since like the '60s, '70s, and '80s. Just looking at
Right.
us, like we're in our 20s now, guys. Like it's
Yeah.
it's not. It, sure, obviously, it's not like every single human being on. Well, speaking from as people who were born in the U.S. of A. Not like everyone in the U.S. Don't say entire world, and I'm like, well, Dragon Ball Z is really popular in Japan and France, but but when it comes to America, not like every single person knows what Dragon Ball Z is, but they do know what Pokemon is. And sure, you're gonna say, well, those are mainstream, those are entry level, but they're still anime regardless. So people know that it exists and that it's not Merkin. They see that there's a
Right.
difference. Like I'm sure you can get someone, even if they're not an animation buff, they're just an older person, and you show them Dragon Ball Z versus Rugrats, and they're like, huh, that's
Mhm.
different. Maybe not knowing that's from Japan. It was created in the year 1995.
Right.
But
Yeah.
1985. But they would sit there and be like, that's not the same.
Yeah.
You know. Anyway, so talking about some of the questions though, here they're really funny because some of them try to throw you for a loop, but I think when you hear the answer, you're like, that makes perfect sense if it was explained to me by my aunt or my uncle. The
Right.
heroine's nautical school uniform puts the sailor in the title of this manga series. Oh, I'm sorry, he doesn't say manga. He says like manga. I love Trebek. Manga. And I'm like, all right, dude, chill. It's really good. Like, it just, when you say it that way with such emphasis, it's like, all right, dude, your Kokoros and your Tamashis are doing okay. Like, just
Oh
chill.
my god.
Everything's doing fine. By the way, if you don't know the
Oh.
response, the answer was Sailor Moon. And then, what was the next one? The next one was, because that was, I think, the entry level question, I believe.
Right.
Like that was the what was it $200 is the I should know
Yeah.
the amounts of money. After all, I own
Yeah,
several
Matt.
versions of Jeopardy.
Right.
It's become a joke because of the fact that Courtney, a fellow Let's Player podcaster that we work with, loves or at least mildly enjoys Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune. So I just constantly purchase cheap versions of Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune video games, and I just send them to her. There's pictures of her, and her response is beautiful. It's just Saitama. She's like, okay. And I just to get a rise out of her, I'm like, hey, guess what? I got Jeopardy on the Sega Genesis. She's like, okay.
And then every time I hear it, I'm like, Matt, why do you have another version of
Oh,
it?
it's
Why?
it's definitely considered a problem. I'll tell you that much.
Oh.
So anyway, yeah, the $200 question was Sailor Moon. Then the next, I think it was the $400 question. Looking right here was let me see. Just want to make sure. $400 was come on now, video. Oh yes, a hit in Japan for more than 65 years. This boy is really a robot, which isn't even like I know they're not supposed to be funny, but it's just kind of like I know it's supposed to be the $400 question too, so it's supposed to be quote unquote easier because it's Astro Boy. But like when you say like this boy is really a robot, it's like, what is Kakaider? Like I don't know what is Kamen Rider. I love how you can technically take a bunch of different shows based on the idea of boy is robot
Yeah, right.
and just go nuts with
It just
those.
like oddly enough needs to be more specific.
Yeah. this manga, this manga, Mach Go Go Go, was the inspiration for this 1960s, and this next word is in quote, car, and then not in quotes, tune series.
Right.
First off, yo, you're getting on my bad side when you call anime cartoons. First off. Secondly, no, but in all seriousness, right? This one was actually hard for me to get because I only know it as Speed Racer because it's Speed Racer to me. Like it's in the public minds for so long that I'm sure your dad, I'm sure my dad knew about Speed Racer.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Like it's Speed Racer. I don't know if
my dad watched Astro Boy when he was a kid.
I was gonna ask if you watched Astro Boy. Yeah.
Yep.
So that's the thing. It's so old, Astro Boy and Speed Racer, that funnily enough, depending on how young the person like watching this segment is, they wouldn't get those two, funnily enough. Like that's what happens when you take 50, 60 years of 70 years of history.
True.
And you're like, let's put it in one section. Granted, that's what everything else is. That's what all the other categories are doing. But it's really funny when it's done here with media, where you're just like, oh, they're a bunch of kids that would not have gotten Astro Boy and Speed Racer.
Yeah.
And then the next question after that, I believe it was an Attack on Titan question, which is hilarious because the comment section delved into what if someone wrote Kyojin. Oh, what was it? I forgot. Shingeki no Kyojin. It's like, would it be right? It's technically Attack on Titan. Basically, they showed a picture of a Titan, and I don't know if Trebek said it out loud because I'm watching the video muted, but I'm pretty sure he said, "The fuck is this?" And they were all like, "What is Titan?" Or no, "The fuck this from?" And they were like, "What is Attack on Titan?" And it's just really funny. And then of course this one. Technically, it's a question that works because it's manga, but it sort of doesn't either. It's a wandering assassin has his son in tow in Kazuo Koike's This and Cub.
Right.
Which is funny because you have Patchy on your lap, you have your cat on your lap as we talk about this. No, but like this one's a weird one because obviously it began, Lone Wolf and Cub began as a manga. But I think your dad would know it more because we talked about this when we did the Samurai Jack review podcasts for Anna Saturday. Funnily enough, I think your dad would know it more as either its live action movie counterparts, perhaps, because they got brought over to the U.S. I thought, right? Yeah. And more importantly, other than that, he would know it from. They were technically still manga, but like when Viz had them, or not Viz, but I forgot who had them in the U.S. And licensed them out or released them. They released them as comic books,
right?
Like in the comic book format.
Dark Horse.
Oh, did they do it originally too, Dark Horse? Because I know they did the re-releases as manga.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if they did the original, like, because they released them straight up, like flipped as comic books. The same way Viz used to do. I don't know if Viz did it for Lone Wolf and Cub, but I know that they did it for like Inuyasha. I had some Dragon Ball Z ones as a kid. I had Pokemon as a kid. And the Pokemon wasn't like brand new, like made for the US. It was Japanese Pokemon manga. But it was released in a in a comic book format. So very, very strange stuff. So that's the funny thing, this one, where like I don't know if someone got this one wrong at first, because obviously it's like, well, duh, Lone Wolf and Cub, but it's one of those things where like, right, that was a manga. Like, people have to be reminded that Old Boy, which was a movie that was, it got adapted into a Korean film and then into a US film years later. It's actually a Japanese manga.
Right.
People forget stuff like that, you know? So, because of how big something gets, you know, after its adaptation, like Ichi the Killer too has a manga adaptation. I think it started off as a manga. So there's a bunch of different things that either have manga adaptations or started off as manga that you'd be like, what? Attack on Titan is like, again, a duh, right? But even Speed Racer, it does have a manga, but you forget that because, you know, Speed Racer in the 70s, you're like, wait, what? There's a comic book to this picture? But yeah, so do you think you'd fare well with not celebrity? We would be celebrities on Celebrity Jeopardy, of course, duh. But would you fare well with being on Jeopardy with some of these manga questions?
I'm not good at trivia.
Neither am I. but showing you a picture of a Titan, and I'm saying, where is this from?
Well, yeah, I mean,
You got that. But, and obviously if they said anything with "and cub," you'd be like, Lone Wolf!
right, yeah. I mean, these questions, yeah, I think I could have nailed them with
That's what I'm saying. Just these, not the rest.
an
The
amount
rest,
of certainty.
the rest of them we would have been fucked. We would have been royally fucked. We were not prepared for whatever else they asked them that day. I'm just talking about from a anime manga perspective. I think we would get most of these questions.
Yeah.
Although saying, like, you know what it is too? I think they tried to make it bulletproof by putting the name of it in the title, like in the question, just so that you wouldn't be like, this popular transforming girl series, and like anime fans are fucking sweating bullets. They're like, Precure?
Oh no.
That is incorrect. Madoka? That is also incorrect. Just crying. I don't know. Well, come on, guys. They wear schoolgirl outfits.